Welcome back to Southeast Texas Weekly. I'm Kevin Steele. Joining me to talk about the CD36 race, the 36th Congressional District, Ben Strusen, one of the Republican candidates. Good to see you, sir.
Thanks for inviting me, Kevin.
Yeah, I really appreciate having you over here. Tell us, by way of introductions, so to speak. We've done all of our interviews in this way, and I believe we've gotten through well over 3/4 of the GOP list here, and we've talked with the Democrat in the CD36 race. Introduce yourself. I'll just open it right out. Feel free to talk about yourself.
Well, thank you, Kevin. I'm a small businessman by training, a 30-year veteran of the banking industry, former president of the Texas Mortgage Bankers Association, and member of the board of the Texas Prepaid Higher Tuition Fund, appointed by the Lieutenant Governor.
Okay.
So just by way of profession, banking and mortgage banking. And I would say that over the last 20 years, I'm very much a grassroots Republican. I chair the Americans for Prosperity Texas, which is the largest grassroots conservative organization in the state. And I've spent pretty much the last decade advancing conservative values, economic liberty and personal freedom.
The last decade. Now, you ran actually about a decade ago,
About
right?
10 years ago, lost in a runoff.
And where were you running in that race? Among the many, the myriad of questions in this race is the criticism that you ran in a race 2 districts away and that you are now living in a district that is not in the 36th. How do you answer that?
Sure.
These arguments?
Yeah, well, that's a fair point. The Constitution is pretty clear on what the requirements are to run for Congress. So you don't have to live in the district to run for Congress, but I believe if you're going to represent the district, you should probably live there. So if I win, I certainly will be a resident of the district.
You'll move into the. You're now in Conroe.
I'm about 30 minutes from Cleveland right now, in Liberty County.
Okay.
Yeah,
and you'll move in if you win the race.
Yeah, and my wife wants to be closer to our granddaughter. So
what do you make of the criticism, though, that your views may not be the same views as, say, somebody from Jasper County or in Orange County? How do you answer that criticism?
Well, what I would say is it's a very diverse district. We have timber mining, we have rice farmers, we have cattle ranchers, we've got the NASA employees, petrochemical industry, and small businessmen like me.
And see, the views of folks that would live in a, in a Clear Lake or Seabrook are very different from those.
Well, let me answer the question, and the number one fundamental answer, the one thing that I hear everywhere I go is, doesn't matter what business you're in, people are sick of the federal government telling them what to do. And if you're a small businessman like me, you got to deal with the federal government. If you're a rice farmer, you got to deal with the federal government. They just want to be left alone. And that's what they want. People want to move on with their lives, and they want the federal government out of their business.
Do you? What would you have done as a congressman in the context of these IRS investigations, some say persecutions of the conservative organizations? As a congressman, how would you have voted in that context?
Well, it's a responsibility of the Government Oversight Committee to get to the bottom of it. It's chaired by Darrell Issa. They're trying to be very diligent because they're trying to make sure that they know exactly what happened, looking at all the emails. That's why the investigation is taking so long.
Jay Sekulow says he has 41 clients that have never even been interviewed, and yet they've been delayed for years. Look, in getting status.
We don't know what happened because right now it's all sealed, but President Obama's answer that, it was just some lower level employee up in Cincinnati, it's ridiculous. And so when Lois Lerner, who is the federal employee allegedly responsible for devising this scheme, decides to testify, we'll know what happened.
And will you be campaigning on this side of the 36th Congressional District?
I'm campaigning everywhere in this congressional district, and there is no voter that I am not going to reach out and try to earn their vote. And I have to earn their vote.
Is it challenging? Is it daunting to be in a race with that many candidates?
Not really. It was a very sudden decision. Nobody knew that the incumbent was going to leave. So we all had to make a decision on the spur of the moment and go for it. I was concerned that whoever represented us in Congress, they had to have Texas values because I'm a native Houstonian. I was born there, raised there. went to high school there. I've grown up there, and my businesses are in Houston.
Thanks very much.
Thank
Ben
you, Kevin.
Strusen, running for Congress. Good to talk with Mr. Strusen. Also running for the Liberty County GOP chair over in Liberty County. Joining us, Ross Ward, who is also in one of these daunting tasks. He's taking on an incumbent who has been well entrenched in Liberty County for some time. We appreciate you making the point to come over. We're a little ways away from you, so thanks for coming over.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
What is the biggest argument, the case that you make for being GOP chair? We live in a day and age when it's hard to get folks out of the house to go vote sometimes.
It is, and it's one of the core issues that I'm running on right now is the party inactivity in Liberty County. This has become an issue. You can tell the level of complacency and how stale it really has become. One of the things that I've always seen an issue with is they've always talked about starting a young group at a high school, and that's one of the things that I've already initiated. I've already set up an event February 26th at Liberty High School. Another thing that they've really had a struggle with is the internet, the homepage of the GOP. You currently have to go online, print out a piece of paper, have cash, put it in the envelope and mail it to the Liberty County GOP, but they should have PayPal or something set up online to remove barriers of entry to the Republican Party, and that's what we really need to be working on, is sending a conservative message out and removing all barriers of entry.
Is there, in the context of this primary, is there going to be a last-second rush for Liberty County? By some strategic arguments, Liberty County, Chambers County really are fundamental to winning the 36th congressional district. Do we expect a big show in Liberty County when it comes, week or two out from the primaries?
Sure, and last election, Liberty County was pretty instrumental with the Stockman versus the Kosh race, and the same thing is going on now. We currently have congressmen that are always coming to our events. We have an event coming up in Dayton. We are expecting all 12 congressmen out there because they know how crucial it is. So there will be a lot of spotlight on Liberty County in the next coming weeks.
Well, your opponent, Mr. Coleman, the incumbent, he's been in office a long time. What's wrong with that kind of incumbency? What do you bring to the office that he doesn't?
Well, just a total different outlook. A lot of the people say one of the issues with me is a lack of experience. And sure, I've only been involved in the Republican Party for about 2 years now. But usually experience in politics isn't necessarily a good thing. We need a total different outlook on how we operate. Going back to the internet homepage, going back to the level of complacency. We need a fresh outlook on a totally, sure, absolutely, on a variety of different things, and just working in the community, block walking, just getting down there in the trenches and working with the people.
By way of fair play, we'll invite Mr. Coleman, and have invited Mr. Coleman. He was not able to make it for this particular broadcast. I should mention that. Ross Ward, running for Liberty County GOP chair. We'll be back with more right after this break on an open carry march we'll have here in Southeast Texas. Don't go away.